we're in a fucking science fiction movie, and we're at the beginning of the movie where everything's great.
Right.
It's we got problems. We got a lot of dudes out there pinching butts, and there's some dudes are pretty rapey, and we got Kevin Spacey got taken out of that movie. We're doing pretty good.
Right.
And then in the meanwhile, there's fucking robots that are being built by Boston Dynamic that does backflips, and they're going to be able to think for themselves, and they're going to have machine guns for hands.
Right.
And their body's going to be filled with bullets.
What could go wrong?
It's fucking crazy because it's happening at such an accelerated rate that it's literally when I'll be sitting around, I'll be playing with my kids, I'll be hanging out, and I'll be like, "Fuck, are they making robots right now? Are we like a year away from this being a real problem?"
Well, this is kind of what I'm getting at, is that the AI problem, in some ways, maybe it's good because it's causing us to be able to focus on one of these hazards to us that you can't. Once you've seen why this is a risk, once you've really made eye contact with it, you can't talk yourself into why it's safe, right? Because it can't possibly be. Even if 99% of them are safe, 1% is enough to create the problem. So once you've got that information, you can then begin to extrapolate to all of the other problems that don't have the same intrigue around them. You know, there's something Sam Harris makes the point that as you talk about the AI apocalypse, it is simultaneously horrifying but kind of fun to get into because because it is sort of sci-fi-ish and all. But the whole landscape that we have built, right? Our socio-political landscape was built by people who had never heard of Darwinism. There was no Darwinism. They didn't know. And so they built a bunch of ecosystems in which stuff evolves, and they didn't know to worry about it. So the AI problem is a very concentrated version of a very general problem, which is if you build a habitat and you install into it those features which cause evolution to occur, it will occur. And what it will create is entirely a question of what the niches look like that you have left open. So we are living that. We are suffering the consequence of an economic environment that is evolutionary, that creates giant rent-seeking monsters who are liquidating our well-being and putting it into their bank accounts. We've created a political apparatus that has the same characteristics, and now we're facing a robot version that actually has the potential to very rapidly push us over the cliff.
My real issue with this, and this is something that I've been battling again with for a couple years now, is that this is what we do. And it's one of the reasons why we're so fascinated with technological innovation. I mean, that literally we are the caterpillar that is becoming the electronic butterfly, and we don't realize it while we're doing it. And we're so obsessed with the newest, latest, greatest phone that really doesn't change your life at all. Like, I got this new iPhone. It's pretty. It's great. You do the same shit I did on my old iPhone, but I was so pumped to get it, man. But you're in some ways facilitating the evolution of this technology that'll ultimately lead, if you follow it to an end point, it's going to lead to something very, very bizarre. I mean, if you're Ray Kurzweil, you think it's going to be wonderful, and you're going to be able to download your brain into a computer. But if you're a lot of other people, you think it's an absolutely terrifying thing that's going to eventually lead to us being irrelevant.
And this is unnecessary. So likely we won't have time to go very far into it. But we have an alternative. And I think it does look a little bit like Lars Anderson with his fancy archery, which is we are just on the cusp of understanding enough about what a human being is and how it functions for us to actually take control of our structure and to turn it to basically creating a stable, non-utopian, abundant system. In other words, the stuff that we are all pursuing, right? You got your first smartphone and it changed everything and it was marvelous. And then your second one didn't change that much and your third one was no big deal and your fourth one is barely a blip, right? That thing that we are pursuing, the well-being that we felt the burst of when we got our first smartphones, that thing can be made the system can be made such that we are constantly getting the signals of well-being and the liberty to do things that are of consequence. In other words, it is not beyond our current understanding to build a system that instead of getting you to innovate something, having a huge burst of dopamine, and then it wears out and you're constantly looking for the next one. It is possible to build a system that is structured such that your intuitive interaction with it is healthy, so that your feeling about that is something I want to engage with, that is something I don't feel like engaging with, actually leads you correctly through it. And that would free your mind to think about interesting things rather than thinking about, which news magazine is the least fake, right? So architecting a system that understands what a human being is, that understands we are not built to be happy, and therefore pursuing happiness as if we were built to be happy is a hazard. We should be pursuing something else, and we should recognize that happiness is a carrot on a stick that evolution built into us in order to get us to pursue objectives which were not stable well-being. They were actually the spread of our genomes.
Which you can attach to technology. This pursuit of happiness is the pursuit of material possessions. And we facilitate that with these advertisements that make every new thing look like this is the one that's going to take me over the top. I'm going to finally reach the promised land.
Well, technology is one thing. Really, we are built to pursue something that economists call growth. But I would say human beings, like all creatures, are built to detect opportunities that they can capitalize on. And those opportunities can look like various different things. It can look like a bunch of, for some creature foraging, it can be some food that it happens onto. For a population of humans, it can be a new continent. That's a huge opportunity. For human beings, it can also be a new technology that takes whatever opportunity you have and allows you to do more with it. But we are wired to search for those things. And the pursuit of those things has produced a great many marvelous innovations and discoveries. But the fact that we do not understand that we are mindlessly pursuing these things, even when they are not available, causes us to do all sorts of harm to ourselves. So understanding these things as we finally are beginning to, we could build a civilization that did not leave us on the hedonic treadmill pursuing happiness which cannot possibly be reached, but